Okay, we are now live streaming. Holy moly. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. This is Sarah Boxx, Sarah Boxx Coaching and Consulting, and Ken Fay, my creative colleague, Ken Fay Creatives, also the lead creative for Sarah Boxx Coaching and Consulting. And we just wanted to spend a few minutes with everybody to share something that we're in the middle of doing and see if it interests you or other people you know. But that's really all we're here to do today, is to let you see a little more of us and talk about our gift masterclass that we're doing on December 7th. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute or two. But like I said, my name is Sarah Boxx. My background is varied, but I spent most of it in business and nonprofit support and consulting. I would say what drives me is helping people get what they want in life, and that very young age. And when I think about that in the nonprofit space, it's making sure nonprofits are seen and heard and out front in the transformation rooms. And in my big vision of the world, getting off the hamster wheel of continually writing grants, writing grant reports, but having more breathing room because you have more supporters and people who donate directly to you to use your resources. Ken, introduce yourself, would you, and your why storytelling?
Oh my goodness, Sarah, that's a great question. So why storytelling, And my name is Ken Fay, and as Sarah said, I'm right along with her as a colleague here. And storytelling has become like a thing, hasn't it? Everyone out there? I mean, like everyone needs to tell a story. Everyone has a story to share. Everyone has a story to tell. And there's an innate human need to tell a story. And now we have the technology and the ability stories in a lot of varied ways. You don't have to have a giant production house to do that. That's awesome too. And I've worked in those places. But you can also tell a story much simpler. And it's just a matter of getting started. I mean, how many people out there say, just get started, just start talking about your story. And really, it's a story of impact that connects to your why. It connects to your audience's why as well. And you want to have this connection. And that's the power of storytelling, is aligning that heart and that mind and that center to allow your audience to not only hear your story, but be impacted by your story. So in my background, I have 25 plus years in the media arts with Comcast, NBC, Universal Studios. I was director of productions for a film company out west that went corporate national. We did corporate video all over the country. It's all about story. I have done documentaries. I've done commercials, 30-second, 15-second tags. Some of you have seen my work, but don't even know it was me that worked on them. I've been blessed to be a writer, a director, and a producer. All that to say is that the visual arts and the story medium of media arts has always just been the center of my life. And it's a way that Sarah and I connected. And it's a way that I connect with others that I speak to.
So, okay, with that, how we connected, just tell a brief story about how we connected, because folks, how we connected is a story, but it is so vivid that I still can feel the impact of that first meeting today. So take it away, Mr. Fay.
Oh, well, yeah, no, so Sarah and I have known each other for a while now, and we have a lot of fun together, and we're both of the story mind, right? So when we first met, we were introduced by a good friend, a mutual friend of both of ours, and she introduced us together and said, you should meet Sarah. And so started talking with Sarah about what I do in story and all that sort of stuff, and listening to what she does, which is, she these groups and nonprofits, and props them up and supports them and gets them moving and sharing and moving on. And it's great stuff. And I'm like, that really centers to my heart and where I was at my time in that life. And so I went on a podcast, No Labels, No Limits podcast with Sarah. And we got chatting away. And she was asking about storytelling and how storytelling kind of like gets in you. How do you align the heart and mind and the heart center? And I started describing to her a few things. One of them was chocolate chip cookies, which I'm a baker for. And she's like, oh my goodness, I could just taste them in my mouth right now. But it's all about bringing out that visual aspect of your story and creating that space in your audience's mind where they're like, oh, I like chocolate chip cookies. I can smell them. I can taste them. I can feel the warm texture and the gooiness of the chocolate. And we got talking about all sorts of stuff that way, but adding that visual element to something that you're speaking to. And that's one of the connections. And I still have yet to give you truly, there's a art and a science in the story. But it really goes back to the human connection. And honestly, it's the connecting of our human hearts. We all have a shared human experience, right? So if I say chocolate chip cookies and baking, many of you out there, you do that too, or you have a family member who does, and you wish you could, and now you want chocolate chip cookies. It's on your mind with a glass of milk on the side, right? The whole thing of it, though, is I'm connected to the human shared experience of baking, and that's something that is like home. How often do we think of baking in the hearth and the home? That brings a comfort of comfort. But those are all the things that we connect as humans, right? That is the story of going home is the strongest narrative we have. And so to find that place in your heart, and if I can connect that with your heart, I'm also encouraging myself in that story, and it brings me warmth and memory too. So it is that connection. It's that connection of the words we use, how we describe it, And then the other part, the science is that psychology of it all, but the art is how do you present that? And the technology that we have so much technology to present with, we use those as all the tools to show a story.
So let's shift a little bit here, Ken. You know, you and I have done courses, heart-centered storytelling. We've done a short course. We've got a longer, more involved at a master level course that we're going to be doing next year, which we're really not focusing on today. But, you know, we did 2 large projects with nonprofits this spring. And before we did them, during the projects, as well as afterwards, we've had conversations about, you know, these are really smart people. They have talented people on staff. They're all stretched, right? Everybody's got multiple hats they're wearing, but they had some similar questions, right? And sometimes, like, we don't think every nonprofit needs a professional videographer, you know, or cinematographer person, but we do think every nonprofit needs to tell their story visually. And there's data that backs it up on who gives and how they give, and if it's online based on age and all of that. But that got you and I talking about, could we do something before the end of the year to help set people up? And because some of the things you found is people said, we don't even know how to use this space. We don't have space. And in your mind, you can walk into a room and go, here's what we have to work with. You basically look through the lens, right? It's
Absolutely.
stagecraft through the lens. Is that correct?
You know, I've been trained to look through that frame, through that lens, to see it in my mind's eye, to catch what the audience would see. And doing it as long as I have, I kind of have a natural feel for that. So yeah, when I walk into a space, it's kind of envisioning what that's going to look like through a camera lens, right? It's everything to do with what you hear in that space, the lighting, the set dressing, what's behind the person, where is the person located? Does that space enhance their message or detract from their message, you know? And how do I utilize that space in a way to help tell the story? And we found ourselves, as Sarah's saying, out in Big Bear, and we had a wonderful group out there, and they had a beautiful theater setting. And I had the whole range of this entire facility to walk through. And I went, that's it. It's the stage and the theater. That is their story. Their group is going to be put on stage. They're going to tell their story. And so by utilizing those elements, I was able to weave together with them, that cohesion of a message and setting and place. And it made sense with the lights turning on and lights turning off, and all these things work. But that's stagecraft. That's seeing a space and making that space work for you. And you don't have to have a theater. You could have an office or a conference room. You could just be in your car, but really it's setting the stage for your message. That's step one on that.
Well, and you know, the big projects we did, you had camera help, you had professional help with you, but the one you're just describing, you shot all of that, edited it, and used an iPhone.
I did for that one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the point I want to make is it doesn't have to be expensive. In fact, we encourage people to start where you are. It doesn't have to be expensive at all.
No, it really doesn't. I mean, and that one came around that way just because I was on site. It kind of lended itself that way. And it really, as Sarah's saying, we're keeping it very small for them. But through that small lens, impact was made. And people have heard their message. People have responded to their message. And it was really a great way for them to start talking about it. And and the best part is I love this, each other's quotes and comments that were captured. It fills them individually and as a team. And they were like, oh, that is us. Oh, I didn't know you felt that way. Oh, wow. That is the best story. And because as a team, as an organization, you're in it, you guys, you're totally in it. And someone to come along and say, to help you tell your story, we're support. So I see nonprofits as heroes. You are making huge impacts. You have stuff happening all the time. I see what we do is kind of like a hero support team. We come by your side and we're like, how can we help you out? How can we get this up there and out there in so many ways?
I think that's a sweatshirt waiting to happen, the hero support team.
Hero support.
No labels, no limits, no excuses, hero support team. So let me just switch gears one more time and share a little bit about what you and I have in store for folks who want to join us on the 7th. First of all, let me tell everybody this is free. We're not even going to sell you anything. We're not going to refer to our future stuff, but this is really to help you think about it. And we're focusing on the stagecraft. And by that, it's just what Ken said. It's thinking about how can you use what you have. We'll cover things about like your space, your physical space, your challenges, how to handle, think about and handle the lighting, the ambient light, the other light that you have available to you. So how to stage it, the feeling that you're trying to get out of it. But here's what's really cool for folks. So we'll teach about 30 minutes of it. It's 60 minutes. But what we're encouraging is for people who want to participate in the workshop, you need to register, first of all, because if you don't register, you're not getting the Zoom link. That's just all there is to it. That's what we want, because we want to be able to have you think about your questions. look around your space ahead of time. Look what's there, what kind of light, just kind of think about things. We're not even worried about the stories we're telling yet. It's just like, what are your options? If you had to shoot a video today, what could you pull together? Bring those questions, because after we're done like sharing the information, we're going to workshop this. Ken's going to take your questions. If it's a strategic question, I'll chime in. But Ken's going to bring his more than 30 years of experience and say, okay, here's what I would do with that, or here's what you could do with it. And this is not about buying expensive equipment. We're really, even if you needed to buy equipment, you can buy what you need for about $120 to get yourself started. And use your iPhone or your Android, especially today, they've got great lenses on them. So that's the scope of the workshop. Like we said, it's our gift. We want to do this as part of Thanksgiving and the holidays and getting folks thinking so they can be video present in 2024. Ken, did I leave anything out of that?
That's exactly right. And the skill sets that you learn in that will be beyond, because you can take those skills, you can take that thinking, you can take that knowledge, and it can be expanded on. It can be very much scaled forward. So you may do your first video with your iPhone because that's all you can afford or that's all you have. But then eventually you'll start working up toward cameras and future and scaling that up to actually full-fledged production. All those things we've done, and all those things we can teach, and all those things that have been a part of my career is what I try to bring in, so that you don't have to feel like, I just don't know how to do this. I don't have a team. I really have no creative spark. Maybe that's what it is. We try very hard. And I try, and I've worked with a lot of folks to open up that creative box, to open up that spark, to light that fire for you, so that you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to try this out. And then it's just a conversation. And somehow you have it and you're like, whoa. And then I want to create a series. Now I want to create a full-fledged video. Now I want more material. Now I need more tech. Now I need all of this to say is you have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere.
You do. And you have to start before you're ready. That's my theory. You have to start before you're ready, because you're never going to feel totally ready. So I'm going to share on screen right now a QR code that'll take you to our registration page. Or if you prefer, there's a link you can look at. It's our bit.ly link straight into the class. Just register. It's the simplest, putting your name and email address in there, and then you'll get a follow-up email to make sure you're in. We will also remind you before, and we'll send you something about the questions. So you'll be in the loop. You'll know what's going on. And then we also really want to be able to have you share this with other people. So you can take this screenshot now if you want, or forward this if you're looking at this in a tag somebody and share it. And if we have an overwhelming number of folks that we think are too many for a great workshop, we will close it and look for a follow-up session for everybody. But we're really encouraging it, and the more the merrier, because as Ken said, when you start being creative with folks together, it just makes it all the more powerful. So Ken, any last words you want to say before we stop?
Listen, you have a story to tell, and people need to hear that story. The changes you make and the impact of lives needs to be known. You want to talk. You have so many stories already. It's not a hard craft to say, what story do we have? Honestly, it's capturing your passion, the passion of your organization, and the lives that you impact. And that changes the world. We need more of that. We need more change. We need more positivity. We need more kindness in that. And what's heart-centered. And what we do is heart-centered storytelling.
All right. So with that, everybody, I'm going to say adios. We hope you have a great holiday weekend for those of you in the States who are celebrating Thanksgiving, or for those of you we communicate with around the world and just want to be in the spirit of giving thanks. Here's to all of you. And we hope to see everybody on this session. We really do, because it's been fun for us to create the workshop, and it'll be fun to share the content with you all.